Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's Digital Economy campaign. I'm Ashley Blake. Now let me ask you a question. What do North End Station, Down Street Station, the Strand Union Workhouse and the many grand houses on Billionaires Row have in common? Well, they're all derelict and abandoned London buildings. Now, make no mistake, they have owners, but many of them are still waiting for the right time to renovate, sell or even rent these problematic properties. So perhaps it's time to think about new revenue models and business streams that can get the best for everyone from these abandoned assets. To hear more, we've taken to the skies with Stuart Woolgar, CEO of Global Guardians. You're not afraid of heights, are you, Stuart? Because from this height we can get a good look at what's going on the ground there, can't we?
Oh yes, absolutely.
What have been the most important developments over the past 2 or 3 years, and how has that affected the landscape and society as a whole?
Even before the pandemic, we've seen a rise in vacant properties, but since the pandemic, it's been exponential. There's lots of developments that could be made to help house people, but everything's on hold because of the uncertainty of the pandemic. So we have lots of retail units that are now empty. Many offices have now closed as well. So a business may have had 15 buildings. They were all operating. Now there may be only 7. So we've seen a massive increase in empty shops, empty office buildings, empty properties all across the UK.
And with these derelict, abandoned buildings, you just don't want to be living anywhere close to them. All these empty buildings, what happens to them?
Well, what normally happens is they become a magnet for antisocial behaviour. Crime will increase and the local neighbourhood suffers. So if you're living next door to a building that's empty, for instance, there's going to be noise disturbances. People would break into the buildings, they'd cause damage, so vandalism would occur. Graffiti goes on the walls, windows get smashed, and it becomes like a real drag on the local community. And if it's just left empty, then the owner itself seems to be very irresponsible. So the local authority can also cause problems, especially in terms of the planning permission, because obviously the local neighbourhoods need to be on board with that, with a private developer or a local authority who want to develop a property. And it's really kind of hit deep into all the areas of across this country, from the south to the north.
You also have a use for commercial buildings?
Oh, absolutely, yes. For instance, over here was originally a 6-storey office building. It had the Department of Work and Pensions in occupation, and it had about 230 people bustling around in this office making things happen. Since the pandemic, the DWP no longer needed the building, so they've moved out of there. The building's been empty for a long time. So you had things like pipe leaks bursting from lack of use, and this caused damage internally, and then that caused, because the heating was turned off as well over the winter, it caused mould, it caused damp, it caused lots of issues internally, and also the electrics were turned off, so the whole building was like shut down. The person who owned the building put the metal screens over, they were broken open and windows were smashed, which caused glass on the floor. Local children obviously could get injured from that, and the local parents were complaining. So all in all, it became an eyesore.
And then you moved in and completely turned it around?
Yeah, absolutely. So we came in, had a look at the building. There were squatters in the building, so we had to help the client to remove the squatters. As soon as we removed them, we went into action in terms of looking at every health and safety risk in the property. So we placed in flat pack showers, we placed kitchen units for cooking. So the people who were going to live there were all prepared, and then we had to make sure the health and safety certification was done. And as soon as we then worked out where the living space was going to be, we placed a guardian on each floor, and the guardians then took over the building, lights turned back on, and it's business as usual.
How do you recruit a global guardian?
Well, a global guardian is recruited through a very rigorous vetting process. We go through what we call our ideal guardian assessment, and there's many questions asking them about what they think about the local community, what they understand by what Global Guardians' duty is, what our service is, and also we look through their bank statements, passports, their right to remain, anything that links this person to who they should be. Well, as a Global Guardian, responsibilities are quite serious. It's a bit like house sitting. So you look after it, you make sure that no one intrudes. If you see people who are in the area who you think, well, they're going to try and break in, you call the police. You also make sure that any issues like maintenance or management of the property is reported back on our bespoke CRM system. The fire routes are empty and clean at all times. We put cleaning rotors in place They make sure the windows are closed when they're going out. They make sure that they don't bring any attention to the building.
So let's descend and get a little closer. Let's take a closer look. Give us a hand here. Let's just twist the burners off a wee bit there. That's it. And let's just sweep in a bit closer. Okay. So give us an example. What's happening here?
And this one building empty is going to have problems with the local community because they're going to see antisocial behaviour is going to rise. There's going to be metal, copper theft. There's going to be rodent infestations that are going to increase. So we took over that building and basically dealt with all those issues. We cut the vegetation back immediately, cut the grounds, and then after a period of time, once we did that, it was a 3 to 5 day period. Guardians then came, took over the building, and now it's fully back to normal.
What are the 3 most important takeaways for local authorities, governments, business owners, building owners, and of course, future global guardians?
Well, I would say the first one, the property owners, they get peace of mind, so they can focus on the property assets that are actually functioning. We manage it from start to finish, and they don't have to worry about it. In terms of the local communities, they get good neighbours. These are responsible people who are working professionals, and their task is to make sure that building is kept secure and the local community is looked after. In terms of the global guardians themselves, they receive up to 50% cheaper rent under a licence agreement, and they also have flexible living.
Stuart, thanks very much for taking us on a tour.
Thank you.